These are some Dinar Guru updates, starting off with Mark Z via PDK. Mark Z says, "This is important, guys." Quote, "The CBI, in cooperation with banks, launches large financial projects," unquote. Mark Z says their budget goes backwards with the current rate. Matter of fact, they're working directly with Egypt to develop businesses. Quote, "Egypt MSMEDA cooperation with the Bank of Iraq to develop SMEs entrepreneurship," unquote. All right, Nader from the media says the ATM, I cannot comment on it because I never saw a newer ATM. Maybe operated like I told you before, but they're not loaded with smaller categories because they didn't even print it. They had picture of them, but they didn't print it. It's a waiting game. Sandy Ingram says, on the surface, Iraq appears to have achieved a measure of stability. The country finally has a functioning government after a year-long political vacuum. Terrorist violence has fallen to its lowest rate since 2003 invasion. However, something is happening behind the curtain. For those of us outside of Iraq looking in, everything appears to be fine. For the most part it is, but let's get real with what's really happening. Article quote, "Iraq is quietly falling apart," unquote. Sandy says Iran is silently and quietly setting up financial systems of failure for Iraq, starting with the 23 budget that Iraq cannot afford. Pimpy article, quote, "Iraq is witnessing remarkable growth in the world of e-commerce for the first time," unquote. Pimpy says, obviously this is good. It's another one of those things that helps strengthen the economy inside Iraq. As you are aware, the stronger the economy, the stronger the dinar. Frank 26 question, "It seems at some point there needs to be a public announcement in the U.S. to get the public up to speed. Are you hearing when that might be?" Frank says the United States of America will never publicize the Iraqi dinar, never. Our media is communist. Our media, I don't even know if they're going to announce what happens when they finally change the exchange rate. Our media is not good, they're evil, they don't tell you the truth, so don't expect any information from our media. Walking Stick via Frank 26 says the IMF keeps saying you have currency inflation. The way to combat currency inflation is by raising the value of their exchange rate. It is the economic conditions in Iraq that determine the exchange rate. Question, do you think the exchange rate should be a program rate right now based on that budget? Walking Stick says no. That's why there are multiple exchange rates that were calculated due to the nature of their speed and currency inflation that they have now. Their inflation must not get out of hand. All right, Paulette says they continue to talk about the parallel rate when they've been talking about a significant drop in the dollar. Saleh clearly noted 2% required. They're still hovering around 10%. They have put many things in place and perhaps have used this as a cover/excuse for the de-dollarization process that we all looked for. Prior to them taking the next step to change their currency and bringing out the NSCNs and fills, I don't see it feasible to run their currency or their country very long on the currency structure. All seems to be falling in place. I would be ecstatic if the parallel rate got to 2%. All right, Mark Z says on the RV front, NDAs are kicking in hard. A lot of reports of NDAs. No part of me believes we are waiting until next year. Not at all. The fundamentals do not tell you next year. That's not what they're telling you. The fundamentals continue to be good, and I think things are in a great position. All right, Nader from the Midi says you're going to see a lot of people coming out saying, hey, it's done. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. It's going to be 60 cents. It's going to be $2. It's going to be $1.60. It's going to be $4, $3. All this week you're going to go through that, but you won't know until the 1st of July or the 2nd maybe. All right, Sandy Ingram says President Trump has hired an Iraqi-born Christian to work on his civil legal team. Happy to see the ex-president maintaining his ties to Iraq. After all, he is our highest-ranking Iraqi dinar investor. Frank 26 says CBI, now you're telling all your banks to open as many banks as you can in the largest cities we've got because you're about to do something with your national currency and your exchange rate, aren't you? Yep, this is logic. Frank says what you see before you is not a mirage, not an illusion. It is not a sleight of hands. This is a monetary reform of the Iraqi dinar at its pinnacle, at its apex. It's screaming from the top of the hill, we are coming. And lastly, Mark Z says there's a lot of pressure for Vietnam to increase the value of their currency in relation to the US dollar.